Tvam Stri Tvam Pumanasi Tvam Kumara Utava Kumari Tvam Jirno Dandena Vanchasi Tvam Chato Bhavasi Vishvato Mukaha. Om, thou art the woman, thou art the man, thou art the youth, thou art the girl, thou art the old man tottering on his staff. Thou dost appear born in manifold forms. God's two forms. A lot of people will take offense at this two forms. Advaita Vedanta says there are no two. There are others who will say there is one. And there are others who will say there are many. Monotheism, polytheism, all these. And especially in India, we don't know how many gods are there. Somebody has stopped for counting them. We counted up to a good number, a few millions, and then. So these God's two forms, we want to understand these two forms as forms and formless. That's a contradiction in terms. Two forms and then you're talking of formless. We'll get down to that's a subject matter of what you're going to discuss. Swami Ramakrishnananda, in his earlier years as a young boy, he was called Shashi. He was one of the Sri Ramakrishna disciples. And Sri Ramakrishna one time asked him, do you believe in God with forms or without forms? And he says, well, for one, I am not certain if God even exists. So I'm not able to say either way whether God is with form or without form. Most of us are like that only. Our belief is dictated by factors other than our own search, our own conviction. So in another incident, Sri Ramakrishna asked M. The M is the recorder of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, saying, do you believe in God with form or you believe in God with formlessness? You're surprised. Huh? How can? If somebody believes in God with form, how can they believe in God without form? And how can milk be black? So it's a contradiction. So he says, I like to think of God as formless. So Sri Ramakrishna says, very good. It's good. It is enough to have faith in either aspect, but never for a moment think that this alone is true and all else false. Remember that God with form is as true as God without form. But hold fast to your convictions. When you look around the world, it's obvious there's nothing godly in it. Absolutely. Maybe you will go to maybe a temple or a Buddhist temple or any temple worship, you might find a little kind of, there's something here, and your soul kind of intuits it, there's something here. But look out the world, and worst is, look out at the universe. There is nothing that you can call, there is a God is there, sitting down there. That's what they thought in the old days. You go up there in the skies and you will find somebody sitting down there. You find nobody there. But this is just a superficial view. when you look a little deeply, you will find that there must be something. And you can't explain what it is, either scientifically through its instruments or through its logic or through its science or whatever. There is something. It's not apparent. So this study of the universe itself on a deeper level yields another doubt about the non-existence of God. You look down, deep down, oh, there's a doubt. No, God does not exist. But you look down closer and closer and closer, yeah, some of those doubts are going away. And then you look down even deeper. Here you come to find that there is something which is intangible, which is inexplicable, and yet it's there. So this is what we are going to talk about. Looked at superficially, looked at us, there's nothing, and nothing divine in us. We are same old, sometimes angry, sometimes happy, sometimes miserable, sometimes sad, and sometimes joyous. What's divine here? Nothing. Yeah. And then if you want to break your own sense of importance, compare yourself with all the other mammals. Then you will find they are doing the same thing like we are doing. Oh, okay. Nothing special here. Then you get the other species also in the home. They are doing the same thing that we are doing. They are living, they are eating, and they are dying, and they are feeling sick, and all these things. What's happening? So, this divine or this reality is not easily discernible. First thing. That's why for thousands of years, thousands and thousands of years, in not only in our mature civilizational age, we came with various doctrines about this thing that we feel is there, but we are not sure. Yeah. So the first was deism. Of course, first was animism, etc. First is deism. Deism is, it's a transcendent, not immanent in this universe. It's not based on the scripture, but more established through logic and reason. So deism, some of the early founding fathers here were all deists. Then there's theism, the grand theism. And theism is concepts of different gods are eliminated and one God is worshipped. Theism. And then we have something called pantheism. All is God. They identify nature with God, everything. So they call it pantheism. There's a mountain that's sacred, and the river is sacred, and this, you can say, forest is sacred, and this grove is sacred, and this is sacred. You'll find this in the Native Americans a lot. So pantheism was very ancient. And then we have henotheism. Henotheism is, there's one supreme God, okay. The other gods, let them be. Okay, don't have to go and fight and all that. So this henotheism was coined by Max Muller. Probably one of the final, you can see, person who articulated. So henotheism. So everybody is okay, but we have one. All right. Then, of course, there's something called monotheism. And in monotheistic religions, you'll find there is one God, only one God, to the exclusion of everything else. We don't want anything. And these monotheistic religions, they say that one God. Now they are in a dilemma. Is it with form or is it without form? Now they say it is without form. And yet they called a father, mother, whatever. And is in a place, etc. That itself shows that they are not very sure. And there are some instances, there's a throne and this and that. What is this? What formlessness does not need a throne, and this and that, and the earth is a footstool, etc. But they do speak about, oh, God is omniscient, all-knowing, omnipresent, present everywhere, omnipotent, is all-powerful, omnibenevolent. He's good. He's a good guy there. So you can't have a God without all these qualities. And if you have qualities, then there has to be a substance. You cannot have qualities floating about. A substance has to have qualities. The qualities and substance go together. This was an old Indian philosophy called Nyaya. The ancient, it's current also. They say you cannot have qualities without substance. So, with the formless or formless? No formless. No. So this is something that what is it? Forms of formlessness. So the philosophers, they come and say, okay, we don't believe in we don't take your scriptures as the basis of our inquiry. We will inquire with our own faculties, so intelligence and logic, etc. But they do say, like Aristotle or even the later theologian Thomas Aquinas says, yeah, there is something called some uncreated something. Something uncreated, or the first cause, or the uncaused cause. Now, the philosophers are really good at naming things and making them complicated. Yeah. So they also said, yeah, there has to be some ground of all beings. They understand that there must be not only humans, but the whole of creation, there must be some kind of rational ground that holds our beings together. So that is what they say. And again, they say that as a maximally coherent necessary unity, this is another philosophical, maximally coherent entity. It's a necessary entity to answer a lot of unanswered questions. And they say that exhibits maximal perfection. Again, remember the words. That's a philosophical. In the metaphysical, the metaphysical is the principle of order. It is the principle of consciousness, existence. A universal, you can say, intelligibility. There has to be. So even these, they don't take any scriptures for, you can say, as a support of them. They do inquire with this. They also, because everything in this universe has laws. Everything is guided by laws. Nothing is. So there must be a source of all laws. It cannot be something with lawlessness. And there are some truths that are axiomatic. We can't inquire it. We start with those axiomatic truths. And then we build on those things. The metaphysicians. Yeah. And then we have the psychological or the cultural necessity, specifically in the case of Carl Jung. And you know what they say, that you see, there are these archetypes. God is an archetype. It's a psychological construct that is necessary. You can't do away with it. So this is some of the science. Well, science doesn't. But they say that there are certain things like you might find some scientists to believe in something. Like take for instance, Einstein said God does not play dice. His idea of God was not the idea of a Judeo-Christian God or a Hindu or a Buddhist. No. He was deeply impressed, or rather he knew the Spinozan God. He used to read the Spinoza. I mean, I don't know how deep, but the Spinozan God. God as an abstract entity that is there. Yet it is the ground of all concrete things. That was the... So scientists, they will dismiss it, but they do say that they kind of acknowledge and don't acknowledge, because if they acknowledge, they're going to be pushed out of the scientific community. But as you go deeper and deeper and deeper, then you will find Erwin Schrödinger like, what is life? And he's writing about consciousness. What is this? Why should you write about consciousness? You write about science. And you'll find all the elite scientists at one point of time where they have delved deeper and deeper. Like Werner Heisenberg, apart from his political affiliations, but he himself brought out this quantum. He was one of the fathers of quantum mechanics. And when he came to India, only that time he was saying, oh, at least here they don't call me crazy, because he had brought out the quantum theory of, you can see, uncertainty, the uncertainty principle. Here in the doctrine of Maya, everything is uncertain. These guys had already arrived at this. Nothing is certain. And yet we think we will do this tomorrow, day after tomorrow. Huh? Nothing is certain. So there was another, a friend saying, the teacher will say, hey, this is your duty. Will you do it? Nothing is certain. So I might die tonight, or something might happen, and an earthquake might happen. So nothing is certain. So nothing is certain, and yet people will buy that lottery ticket. Certainly I will get it. Nothing is certain. So Maya is like that. These guys in India, they found that nothing is certain. They built on that uncertainty. Okay, let's start with this. So this is that ultimate, unconditioned, necessary entity called God to answer some of your unanswered questions, to alleviate some of the doubts. Now, these doubts are not meant, they don't arise in ordinary folks. They are more worried about the money in their pocket and the food on their plates. Who wants to bother about this and that? But after your food and everything are met, like Sri Ramakrishna says, no religion on an empty stomach. And after that, then you'll find there must be something. What is that? That is human culture. It will keep on seeking and seeking and seeking. So one time, with all these different doctrines and theologies, Swami Vijnanananda, when he was a little boy, he goes to Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna was in Dakshineshwar, he says. So he looked at Sri Ramakrishna as somebody great. And he said, "Sir, have you read the books of Kant and Hegel? It's a philosophy, all." So Sri Ramakrishna, what? What are you talking about? Saying, throw those books all away. They are all written in ignorance. And Swami Vijnayananda did that. So here we are enamored with these great philosophers, great minds. They are all ignorant. Why? They have not known God. And they are writing about God. Or most of these philosophies and all like this only. The metaphysicians, whether it's Heidegger or whether it's Martin Buber, etc. All these. Martin Buber came with I, thou. This is the two static dualistic principles. If I am there, thou art there. If thou art there, I am there. Right. They never found out a little further than that. So those who have seen God can speak about God. Okay? So there were these endless debates. So many debates and debates, and for thousands of years we've been fighting over this idea of God. So there was one time was a great debate. Who is greater, Shiva or Vishnu? In the court of the Maharaja of Bardwan. Bardwan is a place just outside Kolkata. There was a Maharaja there. And so the main Pandit, the court Pandit, Padmalochan, he was absent. And then the rest of the Pandits were debating. Then he arrived and he saying, what is your opinion? Saying, none of my 14 past generations have either seen Shiva or have seen Vishnu. So I cannot tell you which is greater. But I'll tell you what is in the scriptures. And then he starts quoting the scriptures, etc., etc. And he says, well, they are both one. Okay. And Sri Ramakrishna is mentioned in Sri Ramakrishna's Gospel. So one time Sri Ramakrishna is inquiring of a devotee who has come from Benares. He's saying, do you believe, again, in a God with form or in a formless God? This was Sri Ramakrishna's, he wanted to gauge the spiritual, you can say, quality of a person. What does a person, whether the person is a devotee is the one who devotion and work, etc., and yoga, etc., and those who are taking the path of jnana, knowledge. So he could understand this by asking the questions. So I asked the questions. Then the answer was in the formless aspect. That is like, it is like, glamorous. You don't have to bother much. When you say formless God, you're free from all the crazy rituals, the fast, and the prayers, and all these things are taken care of. Now I'm religious. I'm in the sense of, nowadays they call, I'm spiritual, not religious. So they are very abstract. And abstract, you know what it is. The moment you puncture them, and everything will go. All the abstract becomes, you know what happens, disappears. So the formless, so Sri Ramakrishna says, but how can you grasp the formless all at once? And he says, and he gives the example, when the archers are practicing, they will use a plantain tree as a target, and then a thinner tree branch, and a twig, and a leaf, and then you can shoot at a flying bird. Once you hone your archery skills, those who have read the Zen and the art of archery, you can do that. So slowly, so he says, first meditate on the aspect with form. This will enable you to see the formless later. And this was Sri Ramakrishna's general advice, except of course to a few others who he never bothered, because they knew they had risen above this idea of forms. Take for instance Swami Vivekananda. He was teaching him only of the formless aspect. First he filled him up with the formless aspect, and then later on he pulled him down. Hey, there is a form also. Because he used to say, your Kali and all that is just your imagination. Yes. And then Sri Ramakrishna says, if you abuse my divine mother, why do you come here? As if I come here to hear you what you want to teach. Come here because I love you. I come. Sri Ramakrishna was pleased. And Swamiji himself had to go to endless troubles, disasters, personal and familial disasters. Then when he was at the end of his theta, he said, why don't I go to Sri Ramakrishna? He can help me. And he goes. He says, you know why all these troubles in life? Because you don't accept my divine mother. Oh, okay. Today is Tuesday, you go and ask her. That is, he wanted some help. Go and ask her. And he goes and then he finds the Divine Mother standing there. So from the formless, he was brought to the form. And we know the story. There are those who started off with forms like Raja Maharaj and all this. So you don't teach him too much Advaita and all. So he used to teach him the devotional aspect, God with form. And slowly, Raja Maharaj himself came to the idea that there is a formless God. So Sri Ramakrishna emphasized, according to the aspirant, either one of these two, but not to reject anyone. Hold on to one and then graduate further. And so we find Sri Ramakrishna is saying, now perhaps we can come down to the God's two forms, the real God's two forms. What God's forms? So in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, and I'll quote, not the Sanskrit, because it will be burdensome to you all. It's a famous Bhumir, Apo, Nalo, Vayu, Kham, Mano, Buddhi, which the idea is, this nature of mine, God is saying, is divided eightfold. And then he says, earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, intellect, and the ego, the I, eightfold. This, he's saying, is my lower nature. And he's saying, know that higher nature of mind is different. This, which has taken the form of the individual soul. The God's two forms. What are the God's two forms? The first is the eightfold nature of God. And the higher form of God is that consciousness, that intelligence, or you can say that jiva, the living soul which is there. So these are the two forms of God. Where? In you, in me, in nature, and everywhere. Now, oh, okay. Now, both these in the subsequent verses, this is the source. Etad yoni bhutani. So these two nature, the two aspects of God is the source. It's called the yoni, source of everything in this universe. Everything that has come out has begun from these two. God's lower nature and higher nature. The higher nature is that consciousness, the jiva. And the lower nature is, I will say, okay, but what is it? We have so many elements here, 122 elements or whatever. How many? I don't know. Latest, they're discovering more and more and more. And that's okay. Let them discover more and more. We are happy that they will. But the ancient seers, they said, there are these 5 great elements: space, air, fire, water, and earth. Well, that's okay. I will say, what is this? There is, and even the Greeks we find, and even the ancient Egyptians, and that was standard in the ancient world. But what exactly is this? Saying it is nothing but space at one point of time. Okay, let's take it as it starts vibrating. And as it starts vibrating, space starts vibrating. And as the vibration becomes faster and faster, it becomes denser and denser. And as it becomes denser, the first is the air. And then the air, as the vibration becomes even more rapid, it generates heat and fire. And then it becomes even more rapider. It condenses water. And the water condenses more and becomes the earth. So these 5 great elements are just to give us an idea. Why? Because we have these 5 senses. They want to connect the external world with the internal senses. Each, that's for another day. Or maybe I have spoken it, I think. Maybe not. So it is one element called earth which starts vibrating rapid. So how does it vibrate? It just vibrates. So yeah, no, but it's on the effect of prana, the universal force. So prana, Swami Vivekananda says that this is, from this has vibration, the lashing of this vibration has produced all this universe, the suns and the moons, etc., etc. So you get this, it is there. Akash, that first space, starts vibrating because of the action of that universal prana, and then it starts vibrating. Okay, the 5 are taken care of. Okay, but he says, mind, intellect, and the ego. Of course. The mind, now we are not talking about, right now we are just talking about cosmic things, okay? And the cosmic things, you link it to your own mind. So the first creation starts on a very subtle level. It's called a tan matras. Tat matras. It cannot be perceived. So these combine and recombine, etc., etc. But then on that tan matra level, when he says mind, what is the cause of the mind? The cause of the mind is something called asmita, the universal sense of I. Oh, so your mind is imbued with the sense of I. Oh, that's good. And then the intellect called the buddhi. Where does this come from? Oh, that comes from something even higher, more subtler. It's called a universal consciousness, the mind, called a mahat. Oh, okay. So mind, the intellect, okay. And then the ahankara, the universal sense of I, that is higher. Now, according to the commentator Shankaracharya, the highest avyakta is non-manifest. It's not manifest to you. That is, it's not perceived in any way, not even by the mind. It is inferred. Because at the time of creation, it starts manifesting. And when the creation is over, it goes back and becomes its silence. There are no words are there, nor a mind. So in that is called the ahamkara, the universal sense of I. Ooh, that is what it is. Yes, but this, remember, is still the Lord's lower nature. We are not interested in this, find out who you are. That's the Lord's lower nature. You can tell those fellows who are asking you to find out who you are. That's the Lord's lower nature. There is, he's saying, everywhere you find, everywhere, wherever there's life, wherever there's work, there is a thought, there is a personality stamped on that. You always take it personally. I see a cloud and then it's related to me. It cannot be. This I is everywhere. It is this I that has evolved into the Mahat, the cosmic mind. From the cosmic mind has come the Asmita, the another sense of I. There are plenty of I's, don't worry. Not one I. And from that has come, from that then Asmita has come the mind, and from the mind has derived all the 5 great elements, the 5 sense organs, the 5 motor organs, the 5 pranas, etc. As Sri Ramakrishna will say, the 24 cosmic principles. So everything has come out. Everything is nothing but a combination and recombination of these 8 things. And the Shankaracharya says, well, you can see, if you mix poison with food, that food is called poison. It's a common sense. So he says, this whole thing is nothing but the I, mixed up in the mind, the intellect, the ego, the 5 great elements and everything. There's a universal I, because everywhere it's the I. And I jokishly say, the only I in this world is not you. It belongs to God. Why are you trying to say, this is me, mine? It's supposed to be God's. So okay, this lower nature and the higher nature is that consciousness which is there. That's the highest. So combine both of them and you get God's 2 forms. So what are God's 2 forms in heaven? In heaven, in higher heavens, and wherever you want to go, there will be these 2 forms of God. You want to go down to the molecular level? That also is. Everything is nothing but. That's why they are talking about where is consciousness, Yeah, everywhere is consciousness. They thought it was in the brain. Now at least now they're finding it's not there. In the brain only. They're trying to find it in the observer, in the this and that. Okay. So, Jiva Bhuta Mahabhavo Yayedam Da. So, this is that I am, which holds the 8-fold nature together as the Jiva. Who is saying? God is saying. That's why I'll also say, this Jiva that you think that's you, it's actually not you. It is God. And he also says in the Bhagavad Gita, you see, there are 2 entities, the field and the knower of the field. The field is, why? Because you sow your fruits, your seeds of karma, and they are you can say cultivated year, and it a harvested year in your body and mind. So it's a field, and there's a knower of the field, that consciousness. There too he says, if you know both the knower of the field and the field, this is called comprehensive knowledge. Otherwise it's just temporary knowledge. You need to know both the aspects of God. The field and the knower of the field. Your body and one who knows. And then the subsequent words is that you know. No, he's saying, telling Arjuna, no. Me, God, to be the knower of the field in all fields. God is dwelling within us as the knower of the field and in all fields. These are the two forms of God. Okay. Whether you call it the eightfold divisions, the lower nature of God and the higher nature of God, the consciousness, jiva. Now he's saying, okay, now here we have. Now what is this form and what is this formlessness? That very thing which has form also has something called a formlessness. For instance, let's not get into more philosophy. Swami Akhandananda, when he was young, he used to go to Sri Ramakrishna. He found him one time in Samadhi, which was quite often. And then Swami Akhandananda, he asked him about some question, and Sri Ramakrishna spoke to him about God vision and God realization. And he says, so our first experience of these two aspects starts here. Sri Ramakrishna says, one's own Ishta Devata, one's own chosen ideal, chosen deity, is one's Atman. The chosen ideal and the Atman are identical. The vision of the Ishta Devata, the chosen ideal, is equivalent to self-knowledge. So the first stage of realization is this. When you know, when you realize your chosen ideal. What is the chosen? Who chose it for you? The Guru chooses it for you. It's not, you don't choose it yourself. Because you don't know. But I know. You don't know anything about yourself. You know a little surface. Oh, I like pizzas. I like chocolate chip cookies. Is that you? So the Guru comes and tells you what you really are. And this is your chosen ideal. Okay, all right, fine. This is. We find Sri Ramakrishna saying, when one sees one's chosen deity, where is that deity? It's inside. But you see, the mind has a peculiar habit of projecting things outside. And we see things outside. And we say we have seen it. Actually, it's not. If it was an external thing, the other people there, while that person is seeing, would also see it. It's subjective. So the Atman and the chosen deity is one. Why so many? Yeah, because of the various karmas of different individuals. Each individual, I was telling somebody the other day, yesterday or day before. Right now, you are the most unique thing in this universe. There will never be a repeat of you. If the jiva, if the soul has to become re-embodied, it will not be like you anymore again, like this. It will be something else. Right now, you, Not only this time itself is unique, it will never come back. So this uniqueness makes us all different. Karmas, thoughts, actions, etc., has made a slight difference. So each one needs a different chosen ideal. But all those chosen ideals are aspects of that Atman. So if you see that, you see the Atman. The second stage of experience, after you've seen your chosen deity, second stage of experience is, Sri Ramakrishna was asked by a devotee. So he's saying, Sir, how can he who is the absolute Brahman, omnipresent and pervading the whole universe, incarnate as humans? Sri Ramakrishna says, you see, he's saying, he who is the absolute Brahman is the witness and immanent everywhere. So that formless, that God, formless, is here within everyone as the witness and immanent here. It cannot be otherwise. So here, you said it. So that's the second stage of experience. Your realization will be. Okay. And then what's the final? Okay, even if you get the first one, you're free from samsara. Okay. You don't have to. There are those who are not satisfied with that first. They want to go some further. So that same Brahman, where is that Brahman? Absolute Brahman. Where is that absolute? You must find that absolute in the relative. It is here. If you have the form, you have a form. Within that form is the formless. If you want to search God, here it is, within you. Where do you have to go? Somewhere? To some heaven? Nah, you don't need to. So to catch God, you'll have to get into yourself. Only that vibration that started from the subtle to the physical, the gross, you'll have to traverse these things. And as you traverse one layer after the other of your vibrations, you will, in the yoga philosophy, they say, you will see these manifestations of the vibrations. You will experience all those levels. Then you'll go into your mind, and then you'll go into the intellect, and then you'll go into higher and higher. It's called Sasmita Samadhi, Sananda Samadhi. But you have to traverse back. But it is here. You start from here, in your own heart. So in the final experience, oh my God. That is it. So one time Swami Vijnanananda, he visited Sri Ramakrishna. He's saying, Sir, is God with form or without form? The same old. Sri Ramakrishna says, God is with form as well as without form. Now he comes in. And he is beyond both form and formlessness. We thought we could have done with two. Form, he is with form, he is without form, and he is beyond both form and formlessness. Then Vijnana said, then I asked, if God is all, this cot also is God? Because Sri Ramakrishna was resting on the small bedstead of his. Sri Ramakrishna said emphatically, yes, this cot is God. This glass, this utensil, this wall everything is God. So Vijnananda is saying, as he spoke, I experienced an inner transformation and was lifted beyond the realm of ordinary consciousness. My heart was illumined and I saw the light of Brahman everywhere. So that is what you should go to Sri Ramakrishna now. Hey, I have this doubt. Then you will see everything as Brahman. You will see the two aspects, that which is beyond the two aspects, form and formlessness. That is the culmination of highest goal of Vedanta. It does not disparage the other. No. This is, and this can happen, of course, through, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Anti, at the end of many births, Jnanavan, the person of knowledge, attains me. And what is the attainment? Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Vasudeva, God is all this. Mahatma, that is a great souled one and a rare one. Sadurlava. That is the final with everything. So you don't have to find out now. After listening to this, don't go, where is God? There he is. Here is God. Where is God? Here it is. This knowledge comes through much struggle, of course. It also comes through the grace of God. Through the grace of God itself comes this knowledge. And we have seen in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, you should touch somebody and send him off packing. In the sense of send the ignorance packing. So these are the two forms of God. Okay, I think we've established before we can chant the piece. Can you briefly explain the Buddha's teaching as to be light unto yourself? Okay. Buddha thought the final message just before yours, passing away into the great nirvana, Mahaparinirvana. He saw his disciple Ananda weeping. Why? After all these years of staying here with me and hearing and learning, why are you crying? And then he says, Atma Deepo Bhava, be a light unto yourself. That is, stand alone on your own feet and struggle on. Don't depend on anybody or anything. So be a light unto yourself. That is what the Buddha says. Okay. Maharaj, from a Vedantic perspective, how should we understand the apocalyptic fear, conspiracy thinking and collective madness so common in the West without becoming trapped in it? Stop reading the newspapers or watching news. You'll be at peace. And the world will be even peace. You want to have peace? Okay. After being released from samsara, is there a choice as to what comes next? Form or formlessness? After release from samsara, that will depend on your own spiritual attitude. There are those who like to constantly be in communion with God. They would like to have God there, always to see God there within themselves, etc., etc. So Sri Ramakrishna used to quote a very famous saint, Ram Prasad. Oh mother, I don't want to be sugar, I want to taste sugar. That's, you don't get diabetes with that sugar, okay? So there are those who like to be sugar, there are those who like to taste sugar. So depends on what you are, what you like, you can take it. But yes, of course, what you said is correct. That is, you're released from samsara, that is, you're released from the bonds of ignorance. And then it is you're free. If you want to do this or do that, go. Or you want to merge inside and finish it off completely. Only in this case, there are various levels of attainments, spiritual attainments. After a while, when this entire creation becomes dissipated, like those vibrations I spoke about, the vibrations become slower and slower, and as it becomes slower, this whole universe will disappear. Oh, where does it disappear? Into the formless. Okay. So at that time, all those guys who are eating sugar will just go inside. So that's that. I think there was a nursery rhyme, Johnny, Johnny, yes, Papa, eating sugar, no, something like that. So it's like, hey, eating sugar, no, enough. You're eating sugar now get out of it. So ultimately, it will end up there. So in case you don't want to end up there, there are those who say, no, I don't want to be sugar, I don't want to eat sugar, I want to stay at the edge and possibly come down and help others. There are those also. Well, you can come. We always need help. I think all these questions, yes. There are a few announcements before we break. Next Sunday is Easter. We're not going to talk about bunnies. We're not talking about eggs. We're talking about the resurrection according to Vedanta. It's a very important feast in Christianity. And so on Wednesday, of course, we have Mother's Gospel of Holy Mother. And every day we have Aarti and meditation, self-knowledge, Atma Bodha. We almost come towards the end of this treatise on Friday. Sunday is Mother's Children Sunday School. And then next Sunday also Ram Nam. And we have a few. Why don't you all go to the calendar and see? On the east side, we are going to have on the 18th, April 18th at Redmond Public Library. And also on 21st April is a temple called Jai Hanuman. So I'll be speaking there. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.